When I first started looking at compact live production gear, the first thing I kept hearing was how many creators regret buying the cheap, all-in-one boxes that end up looking more like glorified capture cards. You plug a couple of inputs in, try to stream, and then spend hours troubleshooting latency, dropped frames, and a UI that feels like it was designed for a TV remote. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The question I kept asking myself was, does the Magewell Director 1 actually solve those pain points, or is it just another flashy case with a high price tag? The biggest hesitation most buyers have is the fear of overpaying for a device that sounds like it does everything but ends up being a compromise. In the live stream world, you have three basic paths: a laptop with software like OBS, a cheap HDMI capture dongle paired with a PC, or a dedicated hardware switcher. The first can be flexible but is prone to crashes if your system isn't rock solid. The second saves money but often lacks reliable hardware encoding, leading to choppy streams when your internet wavers. The Director 1 sits in that middle ground, promising to take the PC out of the equation and give you a single box you can just power on and go. What immediately stands out is the built-in 7-inch AMOLED touchscreen. Most of the competition either forces you to use a separate monitor or relegates controls to a tiny on-screen overlay you have to navigate with a mouse. With the Director 1, you literally tap the source you want, drag graphics, and switch scenes directly on the device. In real-world tests, say, a Sunday service where the worship team runs 3 cameras, a slide deck via USB, and a pre-recorded video clip, that tactile feedback means you can cue a transition with a single swipe instead of fumbling through keyboard shortcuts on a laptop that might be hidden behind a podium. The input mix is practical for most small to medium productions. You get 2 HDMI ports for cameras or gaming consoles, 2 USB-A ports that work great for webcam feeds or a laptop acting as a media source, and an extra SIM port that supports a third HDMI via an optional splitter. That covers the typical 2-camera plus graphic setup you see in most Twitch or YouTube live streams. If you need SDI, which is common in larger broadcast trucks, you're out of luck. You'd have to add an external converter, and that adds latency and another point of failure. For a creator who's just starting a home studio, though, the HDMI/USB combo hits the sweet spot. Encoding is another area where the Director 1 earns its keep. It handles both H.264 and the newer H.265 in hardware, which means you're not leaning on a laptop's CPU to crunch video. When I streamed a 1080p 60 frames per second gaming session to Twitch while also recording a local copy to an SD card, the stream stayed stable even when my internet dipped a few megabits. The hardware encoder also reduces the heat load on any connected PC, so you're less likely to see thermal throttling midstream. The downside? The device only records to an SD card, and the slot supports up to 256 gigabytes. If you're planning long-form recordings or multi-hour events, you'll need to manage card swaps or use a high-capacity card, which adds a small logistical step you don't have with a peak-based recorder. One of the hidden trade-offs is the reliance on that SD card for both recording and some of the media assets you might want to overlay. Unlike a PC where you can pull files from a USB drive on the fly, the Director 1 expects you to load graphics, lower thirds, or video clips onto the card beforehand. For a one-off event, that's fine. You prep the assets, drop the card in, and you're set. For a channel that wants to add new graphics daily, you'll be swapping cards or using a USB hub to feed fresh media, which can be a tiny inconvenience but not a deal-breaker if you plan ahead. If you're a solo streamer who mainly toggles between a webcam and a gaming console, you might wonder whether you need a dedicated box at all. A simple capture card with OBS can do the job for under $100, but you'll still be wrestling with software updates, driver issues, and the occasional crash when you push the CPU too hard. The Director 1 removes that software layer. You just press Start Stream, pick your platform, RTMP, SRT, NDI/HX are all built in, and it handles the rest. That reliability can be worth the extra $600 price tag for anyone who can't afford a failed broadcast during a paid sponsorship. Conversely, If you're a professional broadcast engineer working on a multi-camera sports production with 4 or more HDMI sources, the 2-camera limit becomes a hard ceiling. In that scenario, you'd be better off with a larger ATEM switcher or a full-featured production console that offers more routing options, built-in audio mixers, and timecode support. The Director One is not built to scale in that direction. It's deliberately kept compact and affordable by limiting